It's Jared McCain's world, and we're just living in it. He is making a real case for Rookie of the Year and leads the Philadelphia 76ers to just their third win this season.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 76ers. I'm Kayla Santiago alongside Keith Pompey each and every day here, breaking down the Sixers, and they finally get a game to go their way in a convincing manner against the Brooklyn Nets last night. So before this game happens, Joel Embiid is ruled out.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, was it during halftime, around that time as well, that they said, oh, now it's some swelling going on. He's going to be out for Sunday as well, and then kind of be looked at in the next coming days. So already you think, oh, here the drama comes again, but the 76ers do finally pull out the win. So Joel Embiid news, not great. We'll get to that in a few moments. But this 76ers team was able to rally with the duo of Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain.
Yeah, it was. It was good to see. I mean, you look at Jared McCain, he had 30 points. He made 6 3-pointers. Tyrese Maxey had 26 points on 11 for 17 shooting. I mean, these guys, I believe they combined to score 23 of the Sixers, 34 fourth quarter points. So they were on it. It was a stretch where McCain would come down, he would hit a 2, he would hit a 3. Then all of a sudden, Maxey would come back and get a dunk. Then he would get a layup, and then all of a sudden he would hit a 3. And it was just, they kept, doing a lot of things. And it was pretty good. I mean, here's the thing, Kayla. Both of us always said, we don't know how that backcourt is going to work, right?
Yeah.
We kept saying how small it is, and we don't think that they can defend someone. Now, this was only one game, so there's going to be other games to validate us or to continue to prove us wrong, whatever. But what we saw last night was pretty good. You know what I mean? They both got after it. They did a lot of different things. And Jared McCain, we'll talk about it more in the second segment, but he's a whole lot better than I gave him credit for. But I really liked what they did.
And it's crazy because, once again, I think we were both on the same page. Where is Jared McCain really going to be a win now type guy, or is he a player for the future with Tyrese Maxey? And once Joel Embiid really isn't in the prime of his career anymore, and now he is showing that, listen, put some respect on my name because I am at the top of the rookie ladder right now. Dalton Connect, you can say bye-bye to him because Jared McCain is the top talking point here of all rookies in this entire league. And it gives something for the 76ers to build upon. And this is what I will say. Joel Embiid comes out and plays in the last game before the Nets, 35 points. We said, all right, well, maybe that's something to build upon. As you alluded to, wasn't even there for warm-ups, wasn't able to do it. He gets ruled out, and now all of a sudden his knee is swelling, which could be happening right now. And we've kind of touched on, the injury that he's had. But when we talk about flipping this team to Tyrese Maxey's team, if you're looking at the future with these two guards, now I'm looking way ahead, but if they can keep building on this, this is something to finally be excited about if you're Philadelphia. Now, it's one game, so we can't get too excited. A lot can change, and we've seen that throughout the 76ers season. But the one constant has been Jared McCain. And the thing that we've been saying, how is he going to fit in with Tyrese Maxey? Well, right now, there was no Joel Embiid and Paul George out there, but him and Tyrese Maxey were trading some buckets.
Yeah, it's true. And the funny part is when we talk about it, you look at it, I'm thinking to myself, well, Paul George has struggled offensively. Joel just seems like he's frustrating the Sixers fans. So I was joking with someone. I said, I'm afraid to go on X or afraid to go on Blue Sky because I'm going to hear people talking about get rid of both of them, right? But the one thing is, it was a good victory for them. But you know what? It wasn't just about those two guys, Tyrese Maxey and McCain. When you look at it, the 76ers had 6 guys actually in double figures, and then another guy, Reggie Jackson, ended up with 9 points, right? So they basically played a lot. They also had a season high 13 steals. They had 25 assists, and for a team that can't rebound the ball, I mean, 2 games ago, they only had 2 offensive rebounds. They had 15 this time. So when you look at it, I felt like this might have been their best all around performance in regards to getting everyone involved. And one thing, Yabusele, right? I would say Yabusele, right? You look at him, and he got the start, and you're kind of like, whoa, they're going to start him. He didn't. He shot the ball well in the beginning, but the thing that stood out to me was he had 10. He had 10 points and 11 rebounds, and that was something that he used to get destroyed on the glass. But he was
Yeah.
extremely active, aggressive, and I just felt like it was a pretty good all around game for the 76ers.
Most complete game of the season for sure so far, because they didn't just win, they were able to win pretty handily. And that was big, especially because in the first half, you're like, okay, they go into halftime and it's a close game. What's happened to the Sixers throughout the season? If it's close and then somehow the other team pulls away, well, finally, they were able to kind of hop on top of that and come out with a victory. And it was interesting, too. You mentioned Gershon Yabusele, Dancing Bear. Nick Nurse talked about him in his post-game press conference as well, saying that he's solid. He doesn't make too many mental mistakes. Now, we saw kind of the travel call at the end where Tyrese Maxey got on him, so we're avoiding that a little bit. But he said his three-point shooting in the beginning really gave them a lift early on. He's kind of that energy that we're looking for. He's fit in really nicely. And the thing that I love about Yabusele right now, having him in this conversation, is that he came in, was expecting to play the 5, then all of a sudden was playing the 4. Now he's in the starting lineup. He's been put in so many places, and he's been able to really put some good numbers out there and be a good source of offense and a good teammate for this team.
Oh yeah, I mean, you hit it on the nail on the head, so to speak. What people say, and it's funny. Yesterday morning I spoke to him. We sat down and we talked a little bit, about that, about the fact that he's a guy that you talked about playing different positions. But think about the Miami game when Nick Nurse didn't even bring him in until
Mhm.
2 minutes and 45 seconds left in the third quarter, right? And then the next game against Memphis, he ends up scoring 17 points while making 5 or 6 3 pointers. So I said to him, I asked him about that, and he says, hey, look, man, I just got to stay ready. He says, we've been losing a couple of games, so I have to be aware that coach is trying to do different things to help the team. So I was fine with not playing much on Monday. I know from one game to another is completely different. So I'm trying to stay ready and help my team. And that's the great way to say it. You know what I mean? And when you look at this guy, he was in the NBA, and then he was only with the Boston Celtics for 2 years, and he left. So typically when a guy says something like that, you're like, man, really, dude? But I think he really means it because he misses being in the NBA. He just wants to be on the team and contribute any way possible.
And I think he's contributing more than we all thought. We love the dunk over LeBron throughout the Olympics, right? But being able to actually be on an NBA team and make an impact when it is really much needed for the squad right now, especially in that position, has been huge. So Gershon gets a double double last night. But let's touch on McCain here, because McCain, there's so many stats we have to throw out here. He's surpassed Allen Iverson for most three-pointers by a 76ers rookie within the first 15 career games. We're talking about Allen Iverson, people. It's still early on in the season. And also the most 3 points made by a player in the first 5 career starts in NBA history. So Jaron McCain has been playing lights out. He's been the lone consistent player. And the one thing that I liked about last night was finally the rest of the team was able to play in more of a complete level, but his game didn't diminish. He kept it going. He was getting everybody else involved. Tyrese Maxey also within that as well. So Jaron McCain can let it up when it's just him and nobody else is doing anything. And he can also do the same. Team was relying on him tonight or last night, yes. But at the same time, everybody was getting in on the action and he was still able to go out there and provide.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. And Kayla, the thing about it is the confidence. Like
Yes.
it's the confidence. It's kind of sort of like, he does not look like a 16th overall pick. He does not look like, he's a rookie playing in the backcourt with an all-star talking about Tyrese Maxey. You know what I mean? He looks like I'm the guy, like I'm that dude. And he was just driving the lane. I mean, at one point he hit a shot and ran down and slapped the fans a hand and kept running. And then he
It
hit
was
a ball. One time he looked at his palm of his hand, like, so it's like it's weird. Like you look at it and you're like, is he cocky or confident? And I think it's extreme confidence. He's comfortable. He's a showman on the court. I just like what he does. And it's funny because you're like, dude, you're not quick enough to get in there. You're not quick enough to get in there. And he does. So this guy is fun to watch, and I love the confidence. I just love it.
Yeah, he said, I'm rookie of the year, put it on my name. And then in the press conference, he said, well, I think that I have a good shot of winning rookie of the year. So it's that confidence, but there's also a humble part about him as well, saying, I have the confidence that I can go out there and provide those numbers. But yeah, I do think that I have a chance with how I can play and how I can provide for this team. And then he also talked about working with Tyrese Maxey and saying that he absolutely loves it. He gets better each game, each practice because of him. And we look at Tyrese Maxey. Who did Tyrese have when he was able to develop that step back three in his game? It was James Harden. Now McCain has Tyrese Maxey, and that's a very, very good guard to look up to. Yes, it's a smaller backcourt, but we've seen some small backcourts. Some people on social were saying, is this Steph Curry and Klay Thompson? No, it's not. It's not the Splash Brothers. But what I do think and what I do see here is that this duo can really be something special. And we talk about the trio of Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey. Maybe we were overlooking what this possible backcourt could bring the Philadelphia 76ers in Jaron McCain and Tyrese Maxey. Because listen, Paul George and Joel Embiid are going to come back at some point, but this team needs to win games without those guys. And maybe this is the answer. We might be overstepping here and saying that, and it's really early. And I know it's only been one game, but Jaron McCain has been providing game after game after game. And Tyrese Maxey will too.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, look at Jared McCain. He had 30 points Friday night, and then before that, he had 35. I mean, this is a guy who, I mean, he has a streak of the one thing that you didn't talk about is his streak of 8 consecutive games with at least 3 3 pointers. So that means it's like it's not a fluke. This is who he is. So, I honestly think that, when we talk about these other guys and you talk about these young two guys, let's think about it in a couple of years from now, it's going to be their team, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Joel has the injury thing. Paul George is a guy I feel like will fit in well. Know why? Because he's not really looking to score. He's looking to distribute the rock. He's looking to play defense. He's doing all these other things. Now, there are going to be some people who get upset saying, well, the 76ers paid him over $200 million to be a role player. Well, my thing is, if you have him on the floor and you have Jared McCain doing what he's doing, what do you want, Jared McCain to stop shooting right about now? No, you don't. So you want somebody that's going to be there to do some of the other things to help out the team. So yeah, I'm very impressed with what he did. Now again, we're still talking about a 3-12 team, right?
Yes.
Who beat a Brooklyn team that we both said early on we thought this were one of the victories we're going to come from. So we'll see.
Yeah, they still have a lot more to prove. I mean, it's still
Mhm.
early on in the season and they have not been consistent. So they could have a great game here and then completely lose their, going forward with that momentum the next three games. But something they did lose and they won't have on Sunday either is Joel Embiid. And it's a little bit crazy to me because we don't truly know what's going on with this knee. And that's what I'm thinking right now. Does the organization probably, but they're saying what they need to say to make sure they don't get fined. So his knee is starting to swell up. He missed Friday's game. He's going to miss Sunday's game, and then they're going to look things over next week. This is so frustrating, probably if you're this organization right now, because Paul George goes down. And then in a game where you say, okay, Joel just had a really good contest a few days ago. Now we have time to see his offensive momentum keep on going. And now it's like, well, he's out once again. What do you make of this, Keith?
I think this is a bad situation. Like, when they keep saying management, it's weird because, you get the sense that this swelling probably has been going on for a while, right?
Yeah.
I think that the knee, and then when we look at his movement, he can't really move well. I think that this is something that has been happening for a while now. Who knows? It's funny. We talked about it a while ago when who was the guy? Blue Will was on that show, the show that he has, and they
Yeah.
talked about shutting Joel down, right? And everybody was like, "Oh no, he's just rusty." Well, you played 3 games, and you played 4 games this season, and now all of a sudden you have swelling, right? The one thing that I don't like, to be quite honest with you, is the initial lack of transparency, right?
Right.
Now,
Right.
the thing is, Nick Nurse said, and who knows, but Nick Nurse said that Joel was going to come there. Well, first of all, let me start the day off. We go to shoot around. We hear that Joel was there, but he didn't practice, right? He just stood there and he watched. Then they said he was going to be kind of like a game time decision. That's what Nick Nurse said, that he was going to come out there and work out, and then they would determine his status. Well, but then later we find out that they saw that his knee was swelling, and that's the reason why he didn't play. Well, if his knee was swelling, then why would he play? Right? So then secondly, like, he never went out there and he never did the workout. And then you hear that it was either in the first half or it was at halftime when he got reevaluated and they decided to shut him down, right? But I feel like what they were saying is left knee injury management, which is cool, but it's extremely vague. I feel like they admitted to the swelling part because Joel was getting destroyed on the radio, he was getting destroyed on social media, and there's a lot of fans out there that's saying, "Hey, we paid this guy a lot of money." Talking about the Sixers, paid him a lot of money, and he is not out here playing. He shut it down after 4 games. We don't see him on the bench with the rest of his teammates. And I feel like that forced the Sixers to come out and say what it was, instead of just leaving people hanging with the knee swelling.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you look at it and I thought there was no doubt in my mind that he was going to play in this game. It's not on a back to back. You're expecting him to play. And then all of a sudden, you see reports coming out throughout the day. Well, they're going to see how he has the warm ups. And then we're hearing that he didn't even warm up. And then at halftime, all of a sudden, it's knee swelling. He's going to be reevaluated next week. So I think I agree with you that this injury might be worse than we all think, and they're trying to force and rush him back. And essentially, maybe he does need to just be shut down. But then again, if you knew that, why do you bring in Paul George? Why do you bring in a player that you want to pair with Joel Embiid to be able to win something? Now, could this all be an effect from him playing in the Olympics and it was too late to be able to make that decision? Who knows at this point? But it's not good. And it's not good when you look at Paul George re-injuring that same knee that he did in preseason, and now Joel Embiid is having swelling around that knee that's really bothering him. So I guess the saving grace right now is Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain. I don't know how far that will take this team, but hey, it worked out for 1 game, so they're going to need to figure it out going forward without Joel Embiid, especially on Sunday. So they take up the Clippers on Sunday at 6 p.m. That's going to be an interesting game to see what the 76ers can do. Keith, before we send things off, any chance at the Wells Fargo Center, the 76ers with Jerry McCain and Tyrese Maxey can pull this out, or not without Joel Embiid and Paul George?
Woo! I think it's going to be a tougher one. Like, I do. I think it's going to be a tougher one, just because I think that like the Brooklyn Nets, they played with a lot of energy, but the fact that Ben Simmons is doesn't bring anything on the offensive end made it easier for them. I love Ben, but he missed like 2 bunnies, right? Um,
Yeah.
I just think that Terrence Mann, and we're not even talking about James Harden, but we will. And then you talk about the guy Zubek. I just feel like that it's going to be a tougher test for them. And then, we'll see. We'll get a better idea of how good this backcourt is. They
Yeah.
even have Norman Powell, right? So what I mean by that is they're going to blitz them. They're going to try to do switches. They're going to try to attack them on the defensive end. So I'm not going to say, put it this way, I don't think they're going to win. But at the same time, I'm extremely looking forward to seeing how Maxey and McCain could play. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the real test because we've seen the consistency of McCain. We know what Tyrese Maxey can do, but can they put it together once again against a much better team in the Clippers? And I will say really quick, too, Ben Simmons, he didn't have Matisse Thybulle to bail him out that time. And that's what it reminded me of, that playoff game when Ben passed up the shot and then Matisse took it and got fouled and went to the line. But that's a story for another day. The Philadelphia 76ers get their third win of the season, but they still have a lot of catching up to do. 113-98 over the Brooklyn Nets. They'll be back in action on Sunday at 6 p.m. at home against the Clippers. We'll see the backcourt can keep bringing some of that McCain magic and that Tyrese toughness maybe. We'll wait and see on Sunday. Thank you all so much for joining us on Locked On 76ers, and we will see you after the game between the 76ers and the Clippers.